Welcome to True and Unpolished. Through this podcast, our intention is to uplift, amuse, and inspire you to create more of a life you'll love. Let's get authentic, everybody. So here's what happened. Mary and I, were all set to record an episode this week on gratitude. And I know it's played out, and last year we didn't do it, but we felt like with the new format, we could do some true and unpolished moments of gratitude. Well, here is both the true and unpolished truth. We got on the call to record, and neither one of us were feeling grateful. And so we realized it was time for a friend call. And we do that sometimes. So instead of recording, we did a friend call in which she processed why she wasn't feeling grateful and what was going on for her. And I did the same thing. And by the end of that call, I was feeling very grateful. I was feeling grateful that I have a relationship with someone that is true. I mean, I can talk about what's going on with me and she'll call me on it. She'll call me on my stuff, help me to see what I'm not seeing. And, it's done with love and kindness and respect, but it's so refreshing to have that kind of relationship. And so I am grateful to Mary. And what you are about to hear, since we had a friend call, is our very first episode together. So first of all, be kind to us because it was our first episode together. And we did it on the holidays. And it's very timely. It talks about, relationships and intention during this time and, having our buttons pushed because we're going to be around family. So enjoy our very first episode together. Take a listen. We are talking about something very timely today, the holidays. And I want to say the quote that came to me as I was thinking about talking with Mary and with you all about this, and that's the Ram Dass quote. And he says, "If you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family." And the truth is that the holidays always can be stressful, and certainly we are inevitably going to get our buttons pushed because our family of origin, our spiritual partners, our soul chose them because they were definitely gonna push our buttons. They were going to first insert buttons into us. Is that the right to say it? They were going to give us our buttons and then they were going to push them.
Well, have you had your buttons pushed yet, Lydia? Because I have.
You had your buttons pushed already about the holidays?
I did. I had my buttons pushed. I was not prepared for that, but they were pushed this morning.
Yeah. Do you want to share about it, or do you want to just say?
Well, I don't necessarily want to share anything except for I chose it. I allowed my emotions to get the best of me, and maybe that's a good thing because it happened beforehand. And so now I can kind of reset myself and my intentions so that I can have a more positive experience.
Yeah. And I love that you said intention, because intention setting is so important because our experience is going to mirror our intention. And so to become really intentional about, any interaction you have, but certainly with family over the holidays, since it is knocking on our door, like this is the moment to take a breath and recognize, everything is filled with meaning and purpose, even the button pushing, like Mary, you just said. You explained that, yes, your buttons were pushed and you could feel that it was on purpose because now it was a bit of a jolt, reminding you of the importance of setting those intentions.
Well, and practicing presence.
Right.
And so how do we bring that presence and mindfulness into this coming week and coming season?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had a conversation earlier with my mother-in-law. She said she wanted to talk about Thanksgiving, and I had made the assumption that she was going to want us to get together, and she didn't. She recognizes that it's not the moment to do that. So this will actually be the first holiday that it will just be my husband and my two boys and me. Like, this is literally the first time that that's ever happened in our married life. So, ooh, I just realized that. That's actually kind of exciting.
I think for me, doing things differently is so important, like not getting stuck in the same old routines. I mean, I've had so many discussions about the food that we're going to eat because I'm vegetarian, and
Yeah.
there is someone who is vegan that is coming, and then there are people who don't like turkey or ham, and then there are people who really are stuck on the southern casseroles and making sure there's a turkey and a ham. So really trying to kind of redefine. And I think Thanksgiving in particular is an interesting time to do that, because really it's about gratitude. And so we
Right.
come up with these rituals that we get kind of stuck in. And so figuring out how to honor the individual, each person's need to have ritual, but also not get stuck in it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I've always admired about you, Mary, is that you're actually so good at creating ritual. And I know, for me, I'm usually not. I mean, that's not really the way that I think. And so for me, Christmas, Thanksgiving, the holidays, they are a time where I actually do have a ritual, because it's been
Mm-hmm.
there since I can remember. So I think that there is importance in ritual, like you said, and finding a way to make it unique and make it something that honors everybody at the table, so to speak. And so figure
Right. And are you going to have a table?
yes, and will we have a table? And I remember 2 Thanksgivings ago, I was actually in South Carolina visiting you, and you had decided that you just told everybody to bring their favorite dish. And so there was like green bean casserole, and there was also like, s'mores. I don't remember if there was actually s'mores, but it was the most eclectic Thanksgiving meal I've ever had.
That year we did appetizers. The
Yeah, it was
intention was to
appetizers.
do
Yeah.
appetizers. And
Yeah.
so, but there probably was a green bean casserole.
There was. I think I brought it. I brought it because it was supposed to have been for a holiday meal with my family, and that actually imploded and was canceled at the last minute. And so I had green bean casserole, and that's what I brought. So, but it was
Well, I'm sure it was delicious.
it really was delicious. So the recognition is, everybody, here we are at the holidays. We're going to see the people in our lives who are most likely to push our buttons. And if we're not going to see them, I know someone who's, um, being challenged in this moment because she feels very strongly about, social distancing and about, not getting together, while her family feels opposite. There's a big divide in the way that we think about pretty much everything in this country. And one of the things that I've noticed happen is that it's become this pandemic, this virus has become a political issue. And so it's, whereas before we would get together with our family, and whether we had their politics or not, it didn't really matter. We could agree that we weren't going to talk politics at the Thanksgiving table, right? And now it's everywhere. We are literally walking around with masks or not, kind of declaring our political allegiance. So I think that there is an undercurrent of politics to every single conversation that we have, right? And what's that rule? The rule is that you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. And now you can't not talk about politics. So what that means is your family, so this gal that I was talking about, she's having a hard time because, her family, doesn't think that there needs to be social distancing, and they're not for masks. And essentially what's happening is they're arguing politics while not actually explicitly saying that they're arguing politics. So she's navigating that. The family's upset with her. And then there are people who, even if you completely agree on the politics of it, and perhaps you embrace social distancing, and so now what that means is you're not going to get to see your family who might agree on lots of things about. And this is a moment where people are feeling isolated, and so the holidays during a pandemic, holidays have always been emotionally weighty, I think. And now it's even more so.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a divorce. It's about 6 years ago, and so my decision was to throw the holidays out the window. I do have a daughter, a school age daughter, and so I only threw them out the window when she wasn't with me, and then created new traditions and rituals when she is with me. So that's really been part of my solution. And I think, having the motivation to do things differently, to break the rules, is part of what I teach, but also I think an essential component of creating a new way of being.
Yes, yes.
And so being willing to be the one to break the rules and to do things differently is a big piece of this. But kind of going back to the politics of it, I think that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I think it's about being calculated in the way that we break rules and asking the questions, how, is this rule serving the greater good, or is it holding me or others back?
Right.
And really tapping into our own essence, who we truly are in our gut, listening to that voice more and quieting the louder voice in our minds, is key.
Yeah, I love that. And what you said reminded me of my sister and her family. My nephew, I guess 6 years ago, about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago,
Well,
passed away.
wasn't it the same?
Yeah, I think it was around about the same time, maybe the same year. So my nephew passed away, and my sister and her husband and her two remaining children decided that first Christmas that they weren't going to have Christmas. They weren't going to have a tree. They weren't going to do the things they normally did, and they, went to a movie and had Chinese food. And so now they have a new tradition every Christmas where they go to a movie and they eat Chinese food, none of which was a part of uh, their ritual prior to that. And it really helped them. It's really served them. It's a new, tradition for their family of four. And they kind of left and departed from what they had done with their family of five. And I like to, what you said reminded me of the recognition that every time that we do something, every time we do a routine, there are neuronal pathways that are created, and every time you redo it, there's like a sheath that goes around that neuronal pathway, and so it gets thicker and thicker and harder to break out of routine, because we are literally programming our brain to do that routine. And so often, what is needed is kind of a jolt or a wake up call that says something's not working. So, that is a good question to ask ourselves. Like, if we are experiencing upset around, traditions, so around being with our family in a traditional way, do we need a jolt? Do we need to do something differently? Is that upset really there to try to get us to recognize that something needs to change? And I know before we started with you guys, Mary shared that she's got some tips. So, Mary, do you want to share some of your tips?
The tip is to bring mindfulness into your experience. And so there's several ways that you can think about doing that. An example is while commuting. So if you're going somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not there. There's a tendency to kind of worry about what's going to happen before it happens. And
Right.
so the driving there is just driving.
Yeah.
It's not actually, you're not actually in that experience. And so mindfully getting yourself there. If everybody's coming to your place, then mindfully preparing, mindfully being present for what it is that I need to take care of next.
Right.
So, so just mindfully preparing, commuting, driving, and not allowing your brain, your thoughts to get where you're going before your body does.
Yeah. And I did this, many weeks ago. I recognized that I was doing that. I was, missing out on really all of my life because I was busy thinking about what was coming next. And so I did the Thich Nhat Hanh practice where I walked to the post office, which is close by, but instead of mentally thinking about it as I need to go to the post office, I'm going to the post office, it was every footfall I said, in my mind, I am here, I am here, I am here. And then the other Thich Nhat Hanh practice is I know that I am breathing in, I know that I am breathing out as you're breathing in and out. And it brings you to presence. That's the way, when we talk about mindfulness, what we're talking about is fully embodying this present moment. What do you hear? What does this moment feel like?
Right. So, I mean, another one to kind of go along with what you're talking about is just doing chores. So, I mentioned the preparation, but say you have to wash dishes. And this is, for me, I don't have a dishwasher. My hands are my dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always have a sink full of dishes, and I get frustrated with that. So, I'm looking at the sink full of dishes
Mm-hmm.
instead of just washing this one dish, having appreciation for the dish,
Mm-hmm.
noticing the sounds of the water, noticing the smells of the soap, noticing every sensory aspect of that one thing that I'm doing,
Right.
and doing that with presence. So same with sweeping the floor or chopping an onion.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the sounds, smells, feelings, sensory aspect of what you're doing. So the more you tap into that, the more presence you bring to the experience.
That's right. And the more presence you bring, the more available you are to the joy of this moment. The thing that is always causing us pain is not the actual thing. It is our thoughts about the thing. It's the fact that we're not there. I actually just talked about this a few Sundays ago because I recognized I was listening to Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm talking a lot about Thich Nhat Hanh today. I'm everybody, but I was listening to one of his meditations on Insight Timer, and for some reason, I heard this differently. I know that I've heard it before, but I've got a new layer of meaning to it. And what I recognized him saying was, you cannot be happy without that thing, without the thing in front of you. So if I'm standing in front of a tree, I cannot be happy without that tree. And I cannot have that tree unless I am fully in this moment, right? So if my child is in front of me, if my child's in front of me, I cannot be happy without my child. And the only way I can have my child is to be fully present in this moment, right? And I
Right.
recognized that, oh my gosh. So every source of unhappiness is all about me not having what is right in front of me, right?
Well, what I was thinking about is the Moses Code.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And
Tell
that
me
was
about that.
one of the, when we started on our individual, kind of awakening spiritual journeys,
Mm-hmm.
however many, it was over 10 years ago,
Yep.
close to 15 years
Yes, ma'am.
ago. But we each kind of had our own individual awakening, and then we came together before we separated, before we came back together again.
You got that, everybody? You taking notes? Good.
um, that's the story of Lydia and Mary. So, but my point, but the point is that that was something that I think you introduced me to. The Moses Code says, "I am that I am,"
Mm-hmm.
and there is some discussion about where the comma is placed in that sentence changes the meaning of it. And so I am what is right in front of me.
That's right. That's right. So it was in the Moses Code. It talks about the story of from the Bible of Moses and the burning bush, and when Moses came upon the burning bush, the Moses heard the voice of God say, "I am that I am." Right, and so in the Moses Code, they talk about the fact that the Moses Code is a comma, and you add a comma, so it's "I am that, comma I am." I am that. I am. You know that. And so, and I'm forgetting the teacher. Oh, Neil Donald Walsh. So he was doing this practice. He was taking a walk, and everything that his eyes fell upon, he would say, "I am that. I am." So if he sees a child playing, "I am that. I am." And he was doing it over and over again. And he met up with a friend, and the friend said, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm looking at everything I see, and I'm saying, I am that. I am." And the friend said, "But you're not that. You're you." "No, I am that. I am." And then he heard himself say, "I am that. I am." And then he goes, "Did you hear that? That is what God said his name was. The very first time that God says his name, it was 'I am that I am.'" And so he had this big epiphany. And that's right. So it's "I am that." Like God is that. Every that you can see. So God is that relative who you find most challenging. You know, God
Yeah.
is that bowl of sweet potatoes. I cannot stand sweet potatoes, y'all. Like, who invented that? It makes no sense to me. Anyway.
Well, since you're bringing that up, I thought I mention another mindfulness
Yes, do that.
tip is to eat mindfully.
Mm-hmm. Tell
So
us how to do that.
how many people stuff themselves during the holiday season, but eating mindfully and having gratitude for all of it, all of the good, all the ugly, the having gratitude for the abundance that you have in your life, even if it's an excess of sweet potatoes.
Yes, that's right. Even if it's an excess of sweet potatoes with marshmallows. But that's right. It's, and we overlook this. We take the thankfulness, the gratitude aspect of Thanksgiving kind of for granted, right? But if we really could embrace it, as a day for gratitude, right? It's today I will be on the lookout for things to be thankful for. I will be on the lookout. And as Mary talks about and has taught me very well, that we have a prover, and our prover takes instructions from us. And so if I tell the aspect of my mind that is the prover to be on the lookout for things that I'm thankful for, my prover will find it. If I am thinking about how terrible this holiday is going to be, that is in essence an instruction to my prover. And my prover is going to show me all the evidence I need that is true. So,
Amen.
right? I got it. I
Right.
did the lesson really well, Mayor. See?
You did.
Yeah.
Good
So
job.
just recognize that you deserve to show up in your life. You deserve for joy. You deserve this holiday to be one that feeds you and feeds your spirit and your soul. And the only person that can make sure that that happens is you. You know, it's my job to take care of Lydia, especially if you're going to be around family that, you know, that you have that has hurt you in the past. You know, you got to show up for you. And part of showing up for you is also having boundaries, you know, and saying what you mean and meaning what you say. You know, if you know it's going to be a tricky thing, you know, if you have a partner, have a safe word. Like as soon as the partner says bananas or as soon as the partner tugs on their ear, it's time to go, yo, you know, look at that.
Look at you, ramen.
That was 3 rhymes. I was only going for 2, but I had 3. I got 3 in there. Mic drop. So tips are to eat mindfully, to prepare mindfully, to set an intention, and I would just caution you to be careful in the way that you word that intention, because if you have the intention to be strong, it's my intention to be strong. My
be
experience,
perfect.
yes, yeah, perfect, already done. But so if I have an intention to be strong, I am going to draw to me the experience of needing to be strong, right? Like, so you're going to attract to you conversations and circumstances in which you need to be strong. So I would, so a great intention could be, my intention is to show up for myself with love and grace. And that brings up a good point. Be gentle on yourself. Like, don't expect perfection. Don't expect that you're not going to lose your temper. If you lose your temper, okay, that's okay. Just allow you to start over again in any moment and to have shown up in whatever way that you showed up.
Also, don't be afraid to break the rules.
Right. Don't be afraid to break the rules.
Or change the rules.
That's right. And so an example of a rule would be, we always have turkey. So you could break the rule and have ham. Like, I know that's very.
Or you could have tofurkey.
Tofurkey. Is that tofu turkey? Oh gosh. Oh, sounds awful.
Or you could have appetizers.
That's right.
And only one casserole.
That's right. That's right. And have a ritual for yourself before you get together with anybody, before you talk to them. Begin the day with, a pause, with a breath, with an intention, and give your proof for the instruction. Today is Thanksgiving. So prover, your job is to show me all of the things that exist in my experience for which I'm thankful. Gratitude, everybody. Well, speaking of gratitude, I am really, really grateful for Mary Hal, and I'm so excited for season 2. I am grateful to all of you for listening and for allowing us to do this. It's been fun, right?
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
You've been listening to True and Unpolished. Let's see what happens next.